to the Lehigh Valley for All Endorsed Candidates Town Hall. I am so excited today because I like to have a nice, non-contentious, relaxing environment to really get to know the candidates. We've endorsed them, but now we're really going to get to know them and what their plans are and what they would like to do. And I think it's important because when we go out to the doors, people will say, why should I vote for Ricky Butler? And you'll be able to say, well, because of these things that he wants to do and these things that I like about him, etc. So it's really great that we're going to get to know all of our candidates and we'll know their priorities. So now what really want to do is to everybody to just sit back, get your wine, get your popcorn, have a relaxing time for the next hour, and just listen to our candidates and be ready to ask some questions at the end if you have questions. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to welcome all of the candidates, and they each get 1 minute to introduce themselves to you. So we're going to start with Ricky Butler. Hey, Ricky, are you there?
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, for everybody who doesn't know who I am, my name is Ricky Butler, running for Bethlehem City Council. Born and raised in the city, as the school board says, built by Bethlehem. Went to Dunnigan Elementary, Brockwell Middle School, and Liberty High School. And the primary reason I'm running is because I absolutely love this city. So I served our country for 4 years in the Marine Corps. And as soon as I left Bethlehem, couldn't wait to come back because I realized how precious it was and how grateful I was for the beautiful city that I call home. So now that I'm back, I've been able to serve my community in a few different capacities. I've been a minister, a mentor, and a coach to our youth within a few different local basketball programs. And now City Council gives me another opportunity to be able to serve this beautiful city. So thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm excited about tonight answering some questions, and hopefully you guys get to know a little bit more about me and ask some tough questions and challenge all of us.
Love to hear from you. And now we're going to move on to Michael Colon.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for putting this event together. My name is Michael Colon. I'm up for re-election for my third term to Bethlehem City Council. I currently serve as the president of City Council, like Ricky, proud product of our Bethlehem area school district. I grew up over in the Marvine neighborhood. Got on council a number of years ago as really a community volunteer who went to a lot of council meetings. And then I looked at the representation at the time and thought, oh, I could do this too. So I was very fortunate to win my first 2 elections. And I'm very proud of the city I grew up in. And I look forward to another term to be able to keep moving Bethlehem in the right direction.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. I've known Michael for quite a while, but the other 2 candidates, I just met them not too long ago. And so now we're going to hear from Colleen Laird. She's also running for City Council.
Hello. So thank you for taking the time to do this evening and for everybody who's joined. I also am a lifelong Bethlehem resident. I graduated from Moravian University, where I now work as the Assistant Chief Information Officer for Strategy and Communication. My professional background includes work in graphic design, marketing, communications, and project management. But more than that, I've been an active community volunteer for a long time. I presently serve as the chair of the Economic Vitality Committee for Northside Alive Revitalization Initiative. I'm the vice president of the William Penn PTO and a member of the city's Environmental Justice Committee. I'm also a lifetime member of Girl Scouts and have been a troop leader since 2008. And also previously I served as the co-chair of the Bethlehem Food Co-op's initial steering committee and then multiple terms on board until my term limit in 2019. I think that City Council is a natural next step for me to continue serving my community. Thanks again for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Colleen. Don't we have a great set of candidates for the City Council this year? We're very excited and proud of all of you guys. So now the next thing we're going to do is meet our Bethlehem area school district candidates. And one of the things I really want to try to find out is how we can help them because they have a tough race. And tonight is one of the things we're trying to do is find out more about how we can help them and who they are. So let's start off with Raya Levy.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I appreciate this. And I have been living in Bethlehem. First of all, I'm a librarian at Moravian University, and I'm the public services librarian. I've been living in Bethlehem for 18 years. My son attended the public school system, elementary, and now he's in high school. And so I've always had a passion for working with kids. I believe our kids are assets, assets within our community. And I hope that, as we go through with this conversation, you will get to know me. And I believe in public education. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much, Rhea. I said your name wrong the first time. Rhea Levy is her name. And now we're going to hear a little bit about Karen Beck-Pooley.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to share a little bit more about myself. My name is Karen Beck-Pooley. I am running for a third term on the Bethlehem Area School District Board. I have been incredibly honored to serve the last 8 years and truly, truly enjoy however I can help our public school district. I'm a big believer in public schools. They educate 90% of us. They're also not only where 90% of us learn reading and math, but they're where we grow up, and they're also pivotal to our neighborhoods and our community. They're anchors for students in our schools, but also our families and our neighbors too. I recognize that supporting our public schools is a heavy burden because Bethlehem Area School District schools have been consistently underfunded by the state. It's a heavy burden on local taxpayers. I recognize that, and I've made a point of spending a lot of my time on the board advocating for our district in Harrisburg. And over these last few budgets, we've been able to get significantly more state funds, about $12.5 million increase in state money coming into our district, which means we get to do all the important work our students need around academics, as well as social and emotional well-being, all without raising taxes on local taxpayers, which has been incredibly important to be able to do both of those things, invest the way we want to invest in our kids, and at the same time recognize that it's a burden on local taxpayers. As part of the board, I chair the board's facilities committee. I also am a board representative to Northampton Community College. And as a board member and also resident of Bethlehem, I serve on the North Side Alive steering and housing committees, and I'm also part of Community Actions board. So to reiterate, I would love the opportunity to continue serving in this way, and I'm looking forward to our conversation tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Karen. And boy, I don't know how you get anything done with your busy schedule. So we really appreciate all your service. Another person that is running for school board, she's another incumbent, is Kim Shively. And she is running for, I believe it's Area 3. Is that right, Kim?
That's right. I'm running for Area 3, which includes Bethlehem Township and Northeast Bethlehem City. And I am seeking a second term. I have also felt very honored to be serving on the school district or school board. I am a teacher, and I come from a family of teachers deeply committed to education, and especially public education, which really serves the whole community, not just our children, but it serves as focal points of community action and involvement. I very much support the points that Karen Beck-Pooley made about trying to advocating for increased funding for the schools from the state so that we can relieve the tax burden on our local property taxpayers while we maintain robust educational programming. I advocate for equity in education, where the point of equity in education is that all students, no matter the background, no matter the zip code, get the type of education that they need in order to succeed and thrive as students. I've served as the board's liaison to the Colonial Intermediate Unit 20, which provides a number of services to the area, but also provides a lot of special ed. Special education is very dear to my heart. I have 4 kids who went through the Bethlehem area schools and graduated from Freedom. 2 of them were on the autism spectrum. And so we have benefited so much from the special education programming provided by the schools. And I want to make sure that other families have that sort of programming and can perhaps even expand it to really serve students who need extra supports, no matter what their disability may be. So I am pleased to be part of this activity, and I look forward to discussing further issues surrounding education in Bethlehem.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kim. And so our last school board candidate that we have endorsed, and actually the last one that there is for the Democrats to vote for, is Emily Schenkel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today, and thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about us and what has brought us to campaign and run for these seats. A little bit about myself. I am serving on the board right now, so I'm running for my second term. A little bit of background, I currently have a student at Northeast and a student at Liberty, but they both started in kindergarten at Thomas Jefferson, and I was lucky enough to be able to volunteer in the classroom for a while they were young at Thomas Jefferson. And while they were there, I was just really fueled into developing a passion for public education, because the kids were amazing, and watching all of these kids come from all of these different backgrounds and come to this school where they were welcomed and they were educated and they were safe, and watching the staff and how they interacted with them and amazing opportunities that they were given. And it really was just incredible to me. And so that actually led me to, along with Karen and a few others, be one of the founding members of the BASD Proud Parents, which was a is a public education advocacy group, met with legislators and really just tried to advocate for BASD. And that led me to what I thought is the next logical step of running for school board. And I was lucky enough to get elected, but I don't feel like I am done with that journey. So I would like to ask for your vote to get elected to the board again. It is so important to me to make sure that our students in our neighborhoods and in Bethlehem are getting the opportunity to continue to be educated with equity, that again, they're all coming into our buildings with completely different backgrounds and completely different needs. And it's so important for their future and the future of our society as a whole, that, you know, they are being educated and given the best quality education possible. So, you know, along with Karen and Kim, I serve on multiple committees currently. I am on the VOTEC Joint Committee. I love the Bethlehem VOTEC and all it has to offer. And really a bunch of other committees. And one of the reasons it's not just to be engaged, but for the communication opportunities. It's important to me to hear what's going on in the schools, how we can support our educators and our students and our parents and our community. Continuing the advocacy efforts in Harrisburg, as Karen said, fighting to make sure that our district is getting what it deserves from the state. And, you know, seeing over time the successes we have had there and what it's allowed us to do is really important to me, that we can continue to do that. So, yeah, that's pretty much the background. Again, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Emily. We really appreciate you coming and letting us know more about you tonight before we have the big election. One of the things that we're going to do now is we're going to give some questions out to the school board and to the city council. The first question is going to be for city council members. And I do want to let you guys know that Michael Colon actually is a city council member already, and he is going to have to leave a little bit early in order to head off to the city council meeting, which is tonight. So we'll have him for a while, but then we might lose him towards the end. But fortunately, he's the first one to ask. I'm going to ask this question to tonight. For city council members, you get 2 minutes to answer these questions. So the question is, city council terms are 4 years long. What is the highest priority issue you think the city will face during your term? And we all acknowledge that there could be some unexpected issues that arise that you can't account for right now. So what are your highest priorities that you think they'll face? And what sort of strategies or ideas do you have towards addressing those issues? And I'm going to start with Michael.
Thank you, Kathy. So as you mentioned, as someone who's already on city council, I think I bring a little bit different perspective because of things that are already in motion that are moving forward. And I'm a big believer in change. Real change takes two things: takes time and takes effort. So time's never going to stop, but effort can stop. And every term I mentioned, I'm running for election for my third term. Each term has been different. This last one, no one ever would have imagined COVID-19 and anything that relates to it. But out of COVID-19 came the American Rescue Plan. And in the 2023 budget, City Council budgeted significant dollars from the American Rescue Plan to address homelessness, to address affordable housing, and to address the Community Recovery Fund, which essentially is a dedicated budgeted amount of money that's available for grants to our nonprofit and service providers in the community. I think these three initiatives, which are all born from this perhaps once in a lifetime opportunity we have with these funds and resources that came to us thanks to our friends in DC who voted for this money, to really keep the focus, to keep that energy, keep that attention on these initiatives. Right now, there's been a lot of momentum moving forward and a lot of conversations and studies going on and community feedback and forums as it relates to affordable housing. There's going to be a plan rolled out that's going to be very comprehensive this year. And then as it relates to homelessness, the city's already very publicly tried to buy some land on the south side to put into good public use. We didn't win that bid, but again, we need to continue those efforts and look forward to this term really make impactful change as it relates to how we budget and program those American Rescue Plan dollars.
Very good. Thank you very much. Colleen, do you have some thoughts on this question?
Yeah, so Michael mentioned that one of the things the city's presently working on is affordable housing. And this problem of insufficient affordable housing, I think, is an issue affecting many cities and one that we certainly struggle with here in Bethlehem. So I think that it's going to be important over the next few years for us to address this problem through a bunch of different strategies and in collaboration with local nonprofits, regional nonprofits, and with other public organizations. So I think that we can leverage those collaborative partnerships with agencies like the Housing Authority, Habitat for Humanity, some of the church organizations and existing sheltering organizations to provide programmatic assistance and to do things like purchase properties by either public or nonprofit entities with the purpose of creating affordable housing space. I'd also like to see zoning for accessory dwelling units come up, and so that we can actually start providing affordable small houses on existing plots of land that have some space, if people choose to do that. And then I'd also like to see some encouragement for housing cooperatives in the area. This is a strategy that I think we see in a lot of big cities and not as much here in Bethlehem. So I think that we could really leverage giving renters and owners more of a say in their own structures that they're living in to keep those costs down. And finally, I think that our city council can take steps to advocate for state policy changes that allow cities to make the changes that they need to really help address these problems. For example, something that people often wonder is, well, why don't we just cap the rents? We can't cap rents. Even if we wanted to cap rents, we can't cap rents in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania right now. So that's just one example, but there are other things that we could be advocating for as a city council.
Very good. And now I bet Ricky has some thoughts on this.
I do. Thank you, Kathy. So I think Colleen and Michael both touched on a lot of good things. And I would say the focus for me is community engagement and providing community resources, which, as was mentioned, affordable housing is a hot topic there. And I think the current administration and council has done a great thing with having over $5 million set aside, right? So being potentially elected to city council, being a part of the decision on how that money is spent is something I look forward to. And then Colleen mentioned a lot of great organizations that we can partner with. I would just add in addition to that community in action. I know that they do a lot. And lastly, as a mortgage loan originator, somebody who helps people get financing for their homes, a huge opportunity is education. Education in credit, just all the things that allow people to not only buy a house, right? Because we're seeing that a lot of times today, the requirements to rent are more strict than they are to buy, right? But if people don't qualify, it doesn't really give them too many options. So there's just some education that needs to be done in regards to savings, what's required to that process, and all of those good things. So I think there's some education that ties into that as well.
Very, very good. You guys all have some great ideas. I'm so excited that we endorsed you. Ha. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a question for the school board members. Is everybody ready? All right.
Oh, we lost her real quick.
Perfect.
Everybody gets 2 minutes to answer what they think about this. So the rebuilding of William Penn and Thomas Jefferson elementary schools have been a hot topic for many recent discussions on the school board, especially since the wall collapsed at the William Penn school last week. So do you think the schools should be rebuilt individually, or do you think they should be combined into one school now? And I guess I will start with Karen.
Sure. Great question. Incredibly important question. And before I speak to my own thoughts on the topic, one thing I want to make everyone who's listening aware of is these are going to be ongoing conversations that the board is having. And I want to invite anyone who has things to share with the board on this topic. We've got 3 elementary schools on our big projects list when it comes to the facilities committee. And we even now have a subcommittee of that focused specifically on these 3 big projects, Fountain Hill, Thomas Jefferson, and William Penn. These conversations, like I said, are going to be going on over the course of the next several months. And even on Monday, next Monday, the board's going to be having a conversation about these schools, sort of beginning the conversation and talking through some possible options. And so open invitation to anyone to join those conversations at that meeting, or you know how to reach us, or you can, we'll make sure you know how to reach us if you have feedback on any of these. So just so you know that's coming. These are big projects. Elementary schools, replacing elementary schools, or substantially rehabilitating elementary schools is a significant expense. So it's something to go into thinking of all possible outcomes. I will say for myself that closing a school is a serious undertaking. And I mean serious in a very negative sense. Schools, as I mentioned when I opened, they are not only central for our kids and part of their academics, but they are anchors in our neighborhoods. These 2 North Side schools, William Penn and Thomas Jefferson, are small community schools, true community schools. They serve not just students, but families, and they are walking schools in walking neighborhoods. And so to take one of those schools out of its neighborhood is a serious thing to do. I'm personally going into this process assuming that it is possible to address the physical needs of those buildings and keep both of those buildings. It'd have to be a pretty strong case to me to suggest that that's not possible to have both of those schools available to our community for the next generation of kids. I expect that to take some creativity just because of the scale of expense that a new building or a substantially rehabilitated building is. But the amazing thing about these schools, as I mentioned, they're community schools. They are right in the midst of a neighborhood full of community partners. And so it's likely that it's going to require some collaboration with partners, whether that's the city, whether that's some of the collaborators we've already got nearby these buildings. Moravian is right by William Penn, YMCA, and the Friendship Park, which is slated to get all sorts of investment from the city, are right by Thomas Jefferson. We've got lots of neat ways to collaborate with the resources and partners that surround those schools. So that's how I'm going into this process. I'm pretty convinced that there is a way, like I said, it's probably going to take some creativity, that there's a way to see that these 2 schools remain resources for their neighborhoods. But just to reiterate, I'll let others respond, but just please feel that you can engage in this conversation with us as a board. It is so important to me that this decision be collectively made by the the families and neighbors and children that it's going to most impact. So lots of ways to get involved.
That's a really, really good point. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm sure Kim has some thoughts. Do you have some thoughts, Kim?
I certainly agree with Karen on the issue about how important these schools are as community centers. I think a lot of people think about schools, public schools, as mostly about educating kids, and that is certainly the main goal. But they do so much more, and so and especially these William Penn and TJ have serve pretty tight communities that have come to really depend on them. So it would be difficult to, to eliminate either one of them. I do have to say that the school district did hold some open discussions with the community members about what they would like, what community members would like. And my sense is that most people don't want to consolidate the schools. They would like them to remain as is. One of the more complicated issues about dealing with both William Penn and Thomas Jefferson and Fountain Hill, for that matter, is that they have a very narrow footstep. So they to rebuild would be extraordinarily difficult. It would mean busing students away. There's no, when we rebuilt Nichman or Northeast or areas like that, there was areas we could run the old school while the new school was being built. So school students were not displaced. With those three schools, we cannot do that. There's no place for them to go. We can't build and operate the older schools. So to completely tear down and rebuild would be quite disruptive for a while. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen maybe at some point, but if there's another way that we can renovate or maintain these buildings, that would be best. It's interesting, until that wall collapsed at William Penn, our biggest concern was Fountain Hill. Fountain Hill is probably in most need of some degree of help, but obviously all three of these schools are going to need some really careful consideration. The other elementary schools, we have 16 elementary schools, and the funds that we got from the federal government during the COVID pandemic, they allowed us to replace systems in those other buildings so that, those buildings have been basically renewed, and we have extended the lifespan on all these different buildings through these funds from the federal government. So in a lot of ways, that frees us up to think more seriously about William Penn, Thomas Jefferson, and Fountain Hill Elementary School.
Excellent. That's a lot of good information. I didn't know most of that. So very good. Okay. Emily, do you have something you'd like to add?
Sure. I agree. It's very important to me to see these schools be maintained as individual schools. There's many, many reasons which have been, explained by Karen and Kim. But as a parent there for 8 years, I saw not only how important it was to the students, but the community. There's not an evening that I walk by either of the schools that there aren't kids on the playground. And these kids are on those playgrounds because they can walk out of their house and walk a block or 2 blocks or across the street, and they can get to the playgrounds, my kids included, for a long time. So I think it's extremely important for a lot of reasons to do everything I can to do that. I won't promise it. You've heard some of the challenges we'll face, but what I can promise is that I will work as hard as I possibly can and put in the time and effort to come up with some of those creative options and to work with our team to see that we, everything that can be done will be done to maintain that.
Very good. Very good. Rhea, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. I don't think that we should combine the schools because, like everyone is saying, it's a community. Schools are these community hubs. And another important factor is that there are a lot of kids that walk to school, and that's a time for them to exercise. I can vouch, it's so funny because as you know, I work at Moravian University, and I was going downtown, and William Penn Highway, I saw this student rollers, on the scooter, actually going to school. And my son, we lived close to James Buchanan, and he had that opportunity to either ride his bike to school or walk to school back and forth. And another important factor that Kim brought up was the busing situation, because from what I've learned historically in Bethlehem, there were schools that were actually combined, and a lot of students had to be bused to, for example, on the South Side, had to be bused to other schools because of these combinations. So I believe in small school structures, because children at that age do not want to be overstimulated with so many people, so many other students. So having these small schools and neighborhood schools are very important to me. And I think that's what we should try to keep it as individual schools rather than combining the schools.
Well, sounds like everybody on the committee agrees. Very good. I like to hear all your input, and I think that's going to be helpful to everybody to kind of know this issue, because we haven't heard that much about it from this standpoint. So it's really great that you guys are all here helping us understand it. And now we are going to go back to a question for city council candidates. Are we ready? There they are. Yay. Okay. And again, 2 minutes for your answer. If you can please keep it to about that along. So the question is, what is a collaboration you would like to see grow within our city? And this could be between departments, between a city and local organizations, or between the city and another government entity. What kind of collaborations are you envisioning in the future, or ones that we have now that we could expand on? And I'm going to start with Colleen.
Great, thanks. I am all about collaboration. So I'd really like to see our regional collaboration increase. Many of the concerns that Bethlehem faces are not unique, from housing to transportation to environmental concerns. And these things extend beyond the city boundaries. The 3-City Coalition that was recently formed is a step in the right direction, but I think that we can do more. I think that further collaboration between regional governments and nonprofit organizations that cross these boundaries should be leveraged strategically to move forward towards common goals, and also to increase communication and data sharing. So, for example, in order to address concerns that have recently been in the media about the Lehigh River pollution levels, I think it's important to work with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, who just received funds to be able to develop both a priority and a comprehensive climate action plan on a regional level. Beyond that, we should also be collaborating with all the municipalities that run along the entire length of the river to be able to protect and rehabilitate that shared resource. So there are other examples for sure, but that's one that's recently been in the media that I think could really benefit from regional collaboration.
Very good. Thank you. And I'm going to go to Ricky now.
Yeah, so as I mentioned in my last answer, what's really important to me is in community engagement and providing community resources. So the community engagement piece doesn't happen without collaboration. We have to have the ear of the city and kind of know what's going on to be able to make change. So that collaboration, I think, is critical. And then in regards to the resources as well, right? I attended a meeting with Community in Action in Linfield Terrace a few weeks back. And I know that they're planning on holding another 2, or they've already done 2, and there's a 3rd one scheduled. I think those types of collaborations and any other types of collaborations that are necessary to do what's best for the city are important, right? Whether it's nonprofits, public or private entities. I think ultimately collaboration is super important, because there's people that are already out there trying to meet the need that we're looking to fill within our communities. And I think partnerships just make for stronger communities overall.
Sounds really good. And now I'm going to ask Michael, and this will probably be his last question because he's got to go pretty soon and go run the city. So go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, I'll have to sign off by around quarter to 6 to get ready for tonight's council meeting. But One of the collaborations that's always been in place, but I don't think can ever be strong enough, and that's not just because we're all on the call, but is the collaboration between the city and the school district, whether that be city council, school board members, city administration, school district administration. As many people have mentioned today, our schools are the anchors of our neighborhoods. All of us city council candidates mentioned that we went to school here in the city. I mentioned I'm from the Marvine neighborhood. Marvine then and still is a hub of activity in that community, whether it's for bringing in community partners so that the school parents know what resources are out there, or after school activities for the students. And when we talk about funding for the schools, as a taxing body, the school district relies on the city growing its tax base. The school district doesn't have its own community and economic development arm. So the city, as the city tries to grow and strengthen our tax base, the school district benefits from that. So there's a lot of natural connections, but aside from going to certain events and things like that, and I speak from experience and maybe even individually should have done more outreach in the past, but I think that there is a lot of conversations to be had with overlapping concerns between community members as it relates to city services, school district services, and we have a lot of the same shared values and want to see a lot of the same outcomes. One of the big things the city announced recently was looking at the potential for a community center on the south side. I won't speak for the school district, but I think we all would like to see somewhere, a safe place where outside of school, but where our school-age children can go on weekends, summer, holidays, things like that, for a safe place in the community. So I think while there's already a lot of overlapping conversations, we can never have too strong of a relationship as we try to tie what we're trying to do together with what the school district's trying to do.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I really like that. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for your thoughtful answers. And now we're going to flip on back to the school board for another question for them. Guys ready in the school board? So again, 2 minutes for answers. With all the divisiveness in the country and locally, what strategies do you have for working together to actually protect kids, protect the teachers, and protect a legitimate learning experience in our schools? And I know this is a tough question, but if you've got any ideas about some things we might be able to do, I would love, love, love to hear about it. And I'll start with Rhea.
Okay. So as a librarian, and I teach information literacy, I believe that, and you know, when I teach the students, I teach them to decipher information. When they look at information, they need to look at it from both sides of the spectrum, as opposed to what's being told to them. So they have to learn to analyze that information. And I think once we teach people to look at information critically, as opposed to jump into conclusion, so presenting students and teachers with that information, so then they can now think of it logically and think of what they will try, what they try to, you know, teach the public. And so I really think that it's important that we teach our students and our teachers to think critically, so that they can disseminate information from both sides and coming up to some other logical conclusion. So that's my strategy as far as when you think about you know, that learning experience in our schools. We really need to teach our children how to think critically and how to decipher information from both sides of the argument.
That is a really, really good point, a very strong point. I think we don't have enough critical thinking today. Okay, let me see if, can I get Karen to give me some feedback on that question?
Sure. Another great question. Schools and school boards have been swept into a lot of, you know, divisiveness is a good word. I will say that one incredible thing about our board, our district, this community, and won't speak for everyone, but I know my experience on the board in the midst of what was an incredibly stressful and divisive time other places. We managed to get through, not always necessarily agreeing on things, but always having the kids in our schools and our community in mind first and foremost, in a way that kept the volume dialed down. And so that even if there was some disagreement, even if we needed to hash out total unknowns, like seeing a school district through a global pandemic that none of us had ever experienced before, it was really all done with the experts in the room, with a sense of compassion for each other, and like I said, with a volume at a level that we could talk to one another. And that has been true of this board in the midst of an emergency and crisis, and just general in advance of that. I think that's a huge asset for the district. It makes serving on the board so much more pleasant also, but it's helped us keep the real focus on where it should be, which is on the kids in our schools and supporting our staff through what's been an incredibly difficult time, not only in the midst of the pandemic, but as they're helping our kids get through it. The trauma of the pandemic is by no means over. The academic trauma and the social and emotional trauma is by no means over. And so by us being able to use all of our energy towards those ends, it's made the entire process just more successful, I would say, and much more pleasant and less divisive. For as much as there's been loud screaming in the areas around us, truly this district has seen its way through in a really sort of calm manner. The superintendent over the course of the pandemic consistently said, we're getting through this together, and that is very much how the board has acted, the administration has acted, and the district has acted. And that's how we continue to act as we continue to work through sort of the lingering impacts that our students and our teachers and our schools are facing.
Very good. I'm hoping that you guys can continue that with a good crew of people that are going to be wanting to work together and to do what's best for the kids. I think that's a really important message that you just said there. Kim?
Certainly, I agree with Karen. I think we were able to weather the pandemic relatively well. I mean, it was hard on everybody. We were able to really come together and support our district without a lot of strife. There were certainly voices that were confrontational or critical, and there was disagreement. But for the most part, it really, people were able to respect each other, and we could hold the district forward. Even we still are dealing with the side effects, I think, of the pandemic. Kids are still adjusting to being in the schools. They missed something. The pandemic really impacted them in terms of not just their learning, but their social, emotional well-being. And so that has been something that we are deeply concerned about, focusing on trying to come up with strategies to help our kids. It is a great concern that with this election, things could change on the board. I really have appreciated the fact that we are united in welcoming many different approaches to education. People people on the board don't have political agendas. It's everybody who's been serving on the board is serving on it because they love public education. They're educators. They love public education. They want to do what's best for everybody. People are not on the board to, make sure that certain books aren't allowed or certain voices are silenced or anything like that. We're enthusiastic for education. So it's really very important that we can keep it this way, and continue to put the focus on the kids, put the focus on the teachers and on the buildings and on the communities that surround our schools.
Yeah. And you guys are all invited to Lehigh Valley for All meeting tomorrow night, where we're going to brainstorm how to make sure we can keep that going. So, Emily, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I do. Thank you. First of all, I 100% agree with Rhea and Karen and Kim. The critical thinking aspect is huge. I was a political science philosophy major, so that speaks to me. And I would agree with Karen and Kim that we've managed to maintain a civility and professionalism among the board and the administration that is really to be admired. The only other thing I would add is just that, and I've seen my fellow board members do, and I am sure Rhea will do as well, is that in order to be protected, I think our students and our community needs to be seen, and they need to be heard, and they need to feel that we're not just telling them that we're hearing them and we're listening. So that's part of the reason I had mentioned before that I try to be on so many committees, not just within the district, but also Northside Alive, for example. The more that, they're hearing that what we're as a board is about is their education and their equity and their future, I think the more protected that they will feel. And same thing with our staff and our educators. So that's, for me, a way I would approach it, is just to continue to try to be involved in these committees and be involved in these day-to-day communications and conversations as much as I can.
Yes.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention, just because I serve on a lot of committees, and I'm also one of the coaches for my daughter's lacrosse team, and we have practice tonight. So I do need to run early as well, so we can get out there for practice. But and I have a VOTEC meeting tonight, or the Bethlehem VOTEC meetings tonight. So I'm going to sign off early. I really appreciate everybody's time, and I trust my fellow endorsed candidates here to speak to my philosophy if need be, but I'm happy to follow up in any way I can as well. So thank you.
Yeah, people can go on our website and find out how to contact anybody if you have more questions or whatever that didn't get answered tonight.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emily. All righty. And now we're going to go down to a city council question. And we are just down to 2 city council members left here tonight. So you guys are really going to take the brunt of it. Thanks, Michael. But anyways, here's the question, and it's not a hard one, and it's something that I'm really interested in hearing. What is City Council doing now that you think is good, or that you would like to continue or build upon? So what are some things that you think that they've gotten right, and how would you like to expand on that?
So I would start by saying that from the mayor's State of the City address, I found out that the city will be debt-free in the year 2026, I think he said. That's something that I'm really excited about. Understanding that we're already heading in a fiscally responsible direction. And I think just continuing that, right? Making sure that the decisions we make align with the budget that we have and align in the best interest of the city.
Good answer. That's very good. You're welcome. Colleen?
So I think from a policy perspective, I've really been proud of our current city council for stepping forward with things like our ethics ordinance that came about in recent time here. That's a move towards making our government have better transparency. And I'd like to build on that transparency and communication. And I'd also like to join the ranks of city council members who really walk the walk in our community with engagement and leadership. Our city council members are not just showing up at meetings and going home. They're digging deeply into issues that come before council. They're devoting time far beyond what's spent in those official meetings to build a thriving community. And so I'd like to be a city council person that continues that and set the example for how elected officials can really engage with our community. My background in project management and communications, as well as the work I've done in the community, I think will help me propose and deliver solutions that bring more transparency, engagement, and make information really accessible to our residents, whether that's any issue, but collecting, sharing that information, being present in the community, listening and talking and sharing information in high tech and low tech ways, so that people can really digest what's going on in our city, I think is really important.
Yeah. And I do think that going out and engaging in the community with a lot of different groups, you meet all kinds of people that you can bring together, and you create this synergy in the community where, you know, this person has this resource and you guys need this resource, but you can provide that resource. And once you start working together, it just weaves a tapestry of the whole community together into a beautiful picture. So I really like the idea of not just going to a meeting, then going home and not getting engaged in anything. That's a smart way to look at it. Okay, so that was our last question that we had all ready for you. And now we are supposed to be taking questions from viewers. So do we have any questions from viewers that we want to put up on the board and have people answer them? It can be for anybody on city council or school board. Anybody campaigning for city council or school board? Let's see. All right, well then I don't see any questions. Let me just throw something out there that I would like to real quickly ask. So like I wanted to talk to more to the school board about, you know, if you're maintaining all these different small schools, are you having a difficult time getting teachers to staff these schools? Anybody can answer. Karen?
I can start and then everybody else can jump in. It's been really interesting over these last few years that different positions have proved more challenging at different times to fill. As far as general teachers, our district has been really lucky in that those have been relatively easy positions to fill for us. There was a period of time where bus drivers, for example, were really difficult to hire. And this was not just a Bethlehem story, but kind of a universal story across the country. You might have heard schools grappling with not having enough bus drivers. And so we were able to do some creative recruiting strategies and bonuses and on-the-job training kind of inducements to get those jobs filled. Probably the hardest jobs to fill right now are in the space of student health and well-being. So school psychologists and psychiatrists, staff within our special education branch. And so we're involved in similar conversations like we had been about bus drivers when those positions were hard to fill, about how to better entice staff into those positions and how to better train and keep folks once they're in those positions. I don't know if anybody else wants to add.
I did want to say that there is like a teacher shortage nationwide. This is a great concern. It's, you know, Bethlehem is doing quite well right now, but there are we're seeing a real drop in people going into education, even from the get-go. There's a problem often people who do start teaching don't last as long as they used to. And this is this is a nationwide problem. This is not particular to our district. Right. And so this is something that we all have to, you know, keep an eye on and find creative ways to make sure that the, you know, we can continue to attract quality teachers who want to stay and invest in our schools.
Very good. Very good. Rhea, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, I do have something to say. You know, I think the issue is with keeping teachers or attracting teachers to the field is that I think our teachers have lost that passion for teaching. And it's because of the simple fact, you know, and my takeaway with that is that they are put in a situation where they do not have autonomy in the classrooms. And so therefore they're constantly teaching to a test. And if your teachers are not excited about teaching, then your students are not excited about learning. And in order to attract teachers to the field, we have to pay them, you know, a decent salary. We also have to make them feel a sense of belonging, a sense of feeling as if they're needed. And so I know that's always the argument, whereas, you know, people don't stay or they don't come or so forth. But if this is something that is so important for us, we have to go that extra mile. Anything that is important for any one of us, if we have a goal set in our mind and we think that that's as important, we always have to try and do not give up until we succeed. So therefore, we should not give up on that. And we need to attract those teachers and make them have this sense of belonging and having them feel as if again, I'm going to keep saying this, is that they have to get excited about teaching again.
Yeah. Very good, Ray. I totally agree with that. I love how you're saying don't give up and just keep on plugging away. So I'm very glad to hear that answer. And now I have a question coming from the audience for the city council reps, the candidates. So here is the question for you guys. It says, what would you like to see from your constituents to be an engaged community member? Like, what would you like us to be doing to help you? I guess I'll go to Colleen first.
Sure. So that's a really great question. And I'm going to take that as what can we be doing to help whoever's elected and the current city council members. So I think that it's really important for our community members to not necessarily show up at every city council meeting, right? They go a while, but while you're cooking dinner on YouTube. I think that our city council, our city web platforms, et cetera, can really promote that even more. Just to listen and hear. But even if you can't do that, you can scan through the agenda for every single meeting and all of the supporting documents on the website to be informed. Even more important, I think, is to get involved with some of the resident councils. We have so many opportunities in our city, whether it's Northside Alive for people who live in the Northside neighborhood. We've got multiple committees on that, ranging from walkability to economic development. We've got Southside Tomorrow, which is a similar structure. We've got the Environmental Advisory Council, if that's somebody's interest. There's just so many ways that we can contribute. And if you're not somebody who looks to go out and volunteer, that's fine. Vote. Ask your neighbor who is that kind of person who likes to volunteer to step up and do it. Not all of us are people who have the time or ability or privilege to be able to serve in that way. So spread the word, ask, share things online, and be as informed as you can.
That's great. Be informed. I think that's the best answer. First and foremost answer is to engage the community by, being informed. Ricky, would you like to answer this question? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say be informed, right? And then once you've gathered all the facts, be a part of the conversation, right? Be a voice and a part of the solution by attending the meetings, connecting with the members of city council, or even the other folks that are involved within the community that can drive the change. So be a part of the change with the opportunities that we see, because the beautiful thing about Bethlehem is it's diverse and we all come with a unique perspective.
Yep. So be informed is a two-way street. Make it as easy as possible for us to get the information and alert us to things that we should be paying more attention to. And I think that we will in turn try to do a better job of watching what's going on and helping you with things when we see that you have a need. So that's a good two-way street that we can set up there. So now it's come to the time. It's the sad time. So glad we had this time together. No, it's time for closing comments. And Rhea, I would wondering if it's okay if you go first with your closing comments.
Sure. I just want people to know that I'm a community person and I believe in community. I believe that people should get involved in the places where they live. And that's the reason why I am running for school board. I believe that we should focus on our children and our teachers. We have to get our teachers excited about teaching again and get our students excited about learning. And so I'm not on this for a political agenda. I am here because I believe in public schools and I believe in our school system. And I have a deep passion for our children. And I believe that our children could succeed. And with anything that you give them, I don't expect everyone to become doctors and lawyers. But if you invest in them and you encourage them and let them know that they can succeed, and that you're there to back the teachers as well. Because again, teachers need to, and I can't stop mentioning it, teachers need to be excited about teaching again, so that we can have a well-structured society, because we are going to be competing on the global market. Because of the pandemic has changed everything about education and finding decent jobs and so forth. And so we are going to be competing on the global market. Therefore, our children need to be well educated. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rhea, you are always giving such hopeful answers. I just want to come and sit by you. Okay. Emily, how about you? Do you have a closing comment you'd like to make?
Emily had to step off.
Shit. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. All right. Well, that's my bad as the MC. I just blew it. Okay, Kim, then. I'm going to force Kim to go under the gun. Go ahead, Kim.
I certainly agree with Raya. There is a lot that we still need to do for our schools. We need to make sure that they get the resources that they need, that teachers get the resources that they need. And part of that is going to be to continue to advocate for state funding for our schools, but also to, make sure that people feel that they are reflected in the schools as well, that everybody feels like they have a voice in the schools, that they understand what's happening, and that they feel that the schools exist for them and their families. And our school board has really been very child focused, family focused, teacher focused, and we'd really like it to remain that way in this, especially after in this next round of elections.
Good. Very good. Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you for your dedication in running for this office. I know it's a lot harder than it used to be to run for school board. And then Karen, are you ready to?
Sure.
Ready? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I just, I won't repeat all the wonderful things that have already been said. Just a huge thank you to having the opportunity to have served these last 8 years, and would love to be able to serve the next 4. As everyone's been saying, this is an important time to be advocating for Bethlehem Area School District in Harrisburg. It's an important time to be doing everything we can on behalf of our students and teachers here in Bethlehem. Loved hearing about all the opportunities that others see to increase collaboration between the city and the school district and be more explicit in those collaborations. I'd love to be a part of all of that too. So incredibly important time. There's a lot that our kids need. There's a lot of extra support that our teachers need. And there's again, the role that our schools play in the community more broadly remains just as important, if not even more important than it has been in the past. And so just have loved being a part of that and look forward to doing that more if I'm so lucky to get to. So thanks.
You're welcome. And we look forward to having you there too, because you are doing an excellent job. Excuse me. Okay. So now Ricky is running for city council. And I was wondering if you have a closing statement for us, Ricky.
Yes. So I am excited about running for Bethlehem City Council for a few reasons. The fact that Dr. Wandlin Enix was the first African-American person to serve on city council, to me, was something that blew my mind. But to be able to have the opportunity to follow her footsteps, and also hopefully to serve as motivation for other people of all backgrounds to want to step up and be a part of the solution is absolutely important to me. And then one of the greatest opportunity I see is to be a conduit, right? To connect the community that I know and I'm connected with to the local government, to allow them to be a part of the conversation, and vice versa, right? Just connect. I pride myself on networking. So understanding what resources or the resources that I'm connected with within the city to be of value, and for the city to be a value of them, are all things that I'm absolutely excited about if I'm elected to city council on May 16th.
Great, Ricky. Thank you very much. And last but not least, our last endorsed candidate of the evening to give their closing statement is Colleen Laird.
Yeah, thank you. So I am really excited also for the opportunity, hopefully, to serve on Bethlehem City Council. I really look forward to being a transparent and straightforward leader on council, to listen even more, to deeply research issues. I love to research. I love to ask questions and challenge assumptions. And to put forward creative solutions. We have a lot of issues in our community that are not going to be fixed by single solutions, and creativity is going to be really, really important. I will work hard every day to continue earning the trust of the people that vote for me, and also to earn the trust of the people who don't vote for me. So I hope that everybody will remember to come out on May 16th to vote in the primary. And I hope that I have the opportunity to earn one of your 3 votes for Bethlehem City Council.
Thank you very much, everybody. And by the way, you can vote by mail if you've already got your ballot. Don't forget to get that back in. And I just want to say that after getting more involved with all of these candidates, I feel very, very hopeful about the future. Now, I think that the main thing we've got to do is just go out and make sure you're elected. So thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for the people that joined and observed. And everybody have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Have a great night.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.